Today's speaker that I have with me today is Jack Marrano. Thank you, Jack, so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Fran.
Jack is the Director of Prosthetic Services at Absolute Dental Services in Durham, North Carolina. Thank you again for joining us, Jack.
No
Today,
problem.
we're going to be speaking about innovations in 3D printing for prosthetics. We're going to be talking about new dimensions of workflows, materials, and equipment. How's everything doing, Jack?
Oh, it's going great.
Business is good in Absolute?
Yeah, everything is going great here. We're busy, and that's a good thing.
Absolutely. It's excellent. Excellent. I just want to know a little bit, and I'm sure our attendees want to know a little bit about your background and what brought you into this great profession.
Oh yeah, I got my story's interesting. It's a little bit different. I always wanted to be a technician. It's kind of cheesy, but I have an uncle, we're close in age, and he was going through dental school, and I was just fascinated with dentistry. I thought it was the greatest thing ever, and I always wanted to be a technician.
Mm-hmm.
I joined the Marines, and I got out, and I just started working in a lab. And I called around till I got a lab that would hire me, and then I just worked day in and day out. Saturdays and Sundays, I was with the owner. I remember he'd get in at 5 a.m, and I would be right there to meet him. And now I'm a technician, obviously, ceramist, and my brother owns a lab. He's probably listening today. And then my son just got into dental school. So it's kind of, dentistry is kind of like that. When you meet people in dentistry, a lot of times it's like a dental family. And that's kind of what we got going on. His wife is an orthodontist. Our uncle's a dentist. My son's going to be a dentist, and so on and so forth. It just keeps growing.
That's amazing. And you know what? I did not know you were a Marine. So
Yeah.
happy Memorial Day, and thank you so much for your service.
No problem. It was my pleasure.
Country of ours. Beautiful, beautiful. See, we all learned something today.
Yeah.
So you joined Absolute. What made you decide to work with Absolute over in North Carolina?
So I met Conrad and Dries, and we joke we probably went through 3 or 4 bottles of wine the first time we met, and a couple of cigars. And that's not really that far from the truth. And we instantly hit it off. Mm-hmm. I mean, there was a connection immediately. And each one of us have our own strengths, and each one of us have our own kind of specialty. And together we just clicked. I mean, it was immediate. And not only, obviously they own the laboratory, but we're also good, close friends. And it's going on 5 years now that I've been here, and we've been just nonstop and having the best time ever. Everywhere we go, Conrad and I will do a lot of social media. We do the Dries is the quiet guy, usually in the room. Most people don't even know he's there. He's very quiet. He doesn't like to get up on the stage. And then, but me and Conrad are right there, and we have a good time doing social media. We have Absolute Talks, and ever since that first time that we met, it's just been fluid. So
that's amazing. I mean, I've seen some of that, and you do great work on Absolute Talks. I love it. And as far as the laboratory goes, it's like, beautiful, beautiful work. Yeah,
the guys have one of the things that really connected us was we all had, I admired their vision and what they had built. But if you talk to us, it would be like you were talking to the same one. Mm-hmm. All of our beliefs and kind of vision is in line with each other's. So that's why I think it really, really works so well.
So how did Absolute get started? Like, what is their story? What's the history behind?
Yeah, they have a fascinating story. So Dries and Conrad both went to dental tech school in South Africa, and they've been friends. They've been childhood friends. Okay. And Conrad got a job at this lab actually before Dries. He came over, and then he contacted Dries and said, you should come over and work with me. So Dries came on over, and they started at the lab. They tell everybody they came over literally with a suitcase. That's all they had to their name. Came over and started this laboratory, eventually buying this laboratory, and then starting to build it into the lab that they envisioned.
Mhm.
And now we just actually we're buying down the street block called the compound of all the buildings here in Durham. But now the guys are 4 locations strong.
Beautiful.
100, we're over 160 employees, and we'll be well over $30 million in revenue this year. So
That's a beautiful thing. It's like a true American dream, right? Coming over here and building
a true American dream.
a beautiful life, for his family and their families and many families.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
you know what? It's nice to hear that. I'm so glad that I asked that question, because that's really a beautiful story. What about being at Absolute is your passion? Like, what do you enjoy most about your current position that you want to talk about?
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy everything. I've kind of, had a blessed career and got to do a lot in a short amount of time. But what I really like is working with the technicians and kind of, it's important to me. I'm different than most people out there, in the way that I lecture and the way that I teach. My goal for everybody out there is for them to be better than me, which is kind of funny to hear that. But that's my goal. I'm the first one, if somebody that, can do something better than me, or has learned and progressed and has the ability to now do it better than I, to give that person credit. Even when I lecture, a lot of times I show my team's work, and I make sure I credit them. It's very, very important. I always tell everybody I have no competition, because I'm not in competition with anybody.
Yeah.
And that's what I believe in. And I think our industry kind of needs that. No egos, kind of no pretentious attitudes. It's really, really important. So for me, what's really important when I came here and brought a lot of, kind of my teachings with me, working with the technicians every day, working with the art team that I founded here at Absolute, is what I really, really enjoy. Working with the clinicians,
Mhm.
you know, so it's teeth are teeth. And I've seen lots of them and made lots of them, probably too many of them. So where I really find joy, if I do a case and a doctor loves a case and a patient loves a case, it's funny because I don't get that excited. I expect that out of myself. But if somebody on my team does a case and that doctor loves the case and that patient loves the case, then I really get excited, because it's maybe something that I showed them that they were able to utilize. And I want everybody, I'm only here for so long. So that's what I tell everybody: pick my brain, and I'll tell you anything you want to know, always. And it's important to me to kind of pass that, kind of pay it forward, pass it down.
Mhm.
So I enjoy that.
Well, really, I feel it's an honorable profession, because what you're giving, your expertise, your artistry, um, really trickles down to giving someone confidence again, giving somebody the ability to speak properly, the ability to chew food and digest properly. It's so important, and really sometimes it's underrated, and people get lost, I think, in like what they're doing, and they don't realize like what the importance is of what you're doing every day, and how honorable and how much it's really making such an important, something very important for someone else
Yeah,
to survive and thrive.
yeah, we do a Monday huddle every Monday with all of the branches. It's live, and a lot of times we'll put a bunch of the cases up on the screen from, happy doctors and happy patients, so
Yeah.
that everybody can share it, and including the administrative staff. And, everybody really takes a lot of pride. The culture here that Conrad and Dries built, and I've experienced this. I've consulted for a lot of laboratories, and I've experienced this, kind of being on the road, is a lot of laboratories. Sometimes, unfortunately, there could be, a little bit of a toxic culture. And
Mhm.
it's one of the things that's been really important to them to have instilled here. So there's none of that here. There's no energy vampires, nothing like that. And simple things like sharing a success story with a doctor and a patient, even to the administrative team here, really lets everybody know how important it is, what we do. And I tell everybody, when you look at, if you look at a case study and you look at the before picture and you look at the after picture, the one thing that always gets me, the one area I don't look at is, believe it or not, the teeth. What stands out to me the most is the change in that person's eyes. So next time you look at a case study and you see the before and the after, look at the eyes. If that patient has allowed that photo to be shared, it's almost like there's life that's been breathed into them. You could see a glow almost. Like a lot of people say pregnant women glow.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I see, or what I associate a successful case with, is when I look at that photo and I see those eyes and I can kind of see that glow. So it's really pretty neat. It's transformational.
It's like the eyes change and the smile gets bigger.
Yep.
There's a lot, it exudes confidence, and it's a beautiful thing. And I hope a lot of attendees that are listening try to like add that to your business, so where you can definitely share those pictures and comments from doctors with the whole team, because it's definitely like a morale booster. I think for like, it has to be for the whole laboratory.
It really is. It's a morale booster. And even, I mean, it could be somebody in the 3D printing room, or maybe it's somebody in login, but everybody gets to share in that success and really see why we do what we do. It's really nice. And even the guys, they have a charitable foundation. It's the Absolute Foundation. They do, give back smiles and things like that. So it's really nice. And everybody here really believes in kind of, let's say, for lack of a better word, the mission statement, right?
Yeah. So you guys are giving back to the community, like you're doing smiles for people that would normally be able to afford it, or find somebody to help them with that.
Yeah, there was actually a really good one, probably a couple years ago, that we did an Absolute Talks on, and it was Conrad and Dries had seen a news story, on the nightly news. A woman found wedding rings and she returned them, and it was this goodwill thing. But they noticed that during the interview and that she kind of covered her mouth and she wasn't smiling that much. So long and the short of it is, they got a hold of a dentist, they got a hold of her, and they did a full mouth rehab on her. And
Wow.
they do stuff like that through the foundation.
That's beautiful. That's amazing. That's a
Yeah,
beautiful
and what's
story.
crazy is she's now a public motivational speaker, of all things.
But would she have been doing that if not for them to,
No.
to change her smile and give her the confidence to go out there and do it? That's great. That's amazing.
Yeah,
It
it's
would be
pretty
nice
cool.
to see more of that, in the world. I'm sure there are many labs that are out there doing it. And if you are, please reach out to Zahn, reach out to me and let me know, so that we can get it out there, so people realize like there's a lot of good that's being done. So thank
Yeah,
you so much for sharing that, Jack.
no problem.
I want to get to a little bit of work here.
Okay.
Prosthetic solutions. What are you guys currently producing in Absolute right now?
We have a full range of restorative options. I mean, if you name it, we do it. Most of that is comprised. So looking at everything, at least like, let's look at the crown and bridge side.
Mm-hmm.
Probably about 95% or more is zirconia.
Okay.
It's all monolithic.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of the things that I worked with Conrad and Dries in kind of bringing to the laboratory. So there is no layering. That's single centrals. That's everything.
Mm-hmm.
That's about the bulk of the work. The rest of it is probably broken up in a little bit of PFM. We still do it.
Mm-hmm.
Our prices for it are outrageous. And I'm telling you, it's for the guys that hang on and still want to use it. We still make a great PFM. We offer it, but we raised the prices on it because it was one of those things that we wanted to eliminate. And it's funny,
Yeah.
some business is actually doing fairly well. And a little bit of lithium disilicate, but majority of the work is monolithic zirconia. On the removable side, that's really where the remarkable story is. That is going to be, and same thing, full range of removable prosthetics, but the majority of that is going to be digital dentures.
Okay.
And that's going really, really strong. That's been one of our strongest areas of growth. And so whatever you got, we have a restoration for it, but we like to tell everybody, Conrad and I just did an interview for DLP magazine, asking about that same question, what is something that labs can offer to their clinicians, or how to be more competitive in the market, or how to be of value to your clinicians. And it's not so much the restorations. Of course, we're full service, but everybody says full service. We like to call it full solution,
Okay.
because we believe that we're a resource for our clinicians. And we were talking a little bit earlier about that, about new material advances and things like that. So we strongly rely on, heavy customer service and heavy QC. It's the combination of both. Dries and Conrad always said we used to argue between the two of them, who was right. Is it service or is it quality? And it's actually both.
Mm-hmm.
So we concentrate on being strong on both those sides. And me personally, and I've said it for years, the world-class restoration is only a byproduct of the first-class service.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I strongly believe that still to this day. I don't sell hybrids. I sell service.
Service. Yeah, that's
Mhm.
right. Now, do you guys do a lot of education as far as the dental team, as far as they go? Do you brief them on new workflows and digital dentures, what that takes to actually produce one, and equipment that you're using and materials, what's out
Yep.
there?
Yeah, aside from, lecturing clinically, which I actually do a lot. I lecture on the clinical side as much as I do the technical side, which is kind of interesting, to have both audiences. But we do, just normal incoming calls. We'll educate the clinicians or the staff, the team members there, on what new workflows are, things like that. That's part of the reason why we do like absolute talks. We have an education facility here. Later this year, I think it's in mid-September, we'll have Dr. Maurice Salama come down,
Mm-hmm.
and we're doing a 2-day, everything from surgical to final,
Okay.
um, course here at the laboratory at our education center. And then even our surgical guided solutions, we have chairside support available for that. If the surgical team so desires, we will send one of the surgical technicians out to day of surgery to be their chairside. So it's a broad scope, and that education could be anywhere from me being up on stage, or Grant, one of our awesome technical managers, being on the phone with a team member at a doctor's office, walking through a new scanning workflow or protocol.
Yeah, that's so important, because great support system sometimes is what's going to make or break a case.
Yeah,
Getting
absolutely.
it done properly, and getting the support that the clinical team needs in order to get what you need to be able to provide a really good case to the patient at the end of the day. So it's definitely a team effort. Let's put it that way, from the clinical side to the
Oh,
technical
absolutely.
side.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. What about all on four, all on X? Are you doing, what equipment are you using for that? Are you 3D printing more? Are you milling and printing, or just milling? Or are you doing a little
Yeah.
bit of everything?
So it depends. And, I've been in all on X, or I've been in full mouth rehab and prosthodontics for the majority of my career. And again, I've been very lucky and blessed with a lot of the kind of superstar clinicians I've worked for in the past and continue to work for today. And, during that development in that time, and I'm going way back before laboratories even had benchtop scanners. It was, wasn't commonplace when we were working with Dr. Lennon Cooper at UNC to develop kind of the all on X hybrid workflows. When Zahn and Enrique Osteger, all the credit in the world, he was the creative genius behind all on X and zirconia. We were working on the workflows to kind of incorporate that into 3Shape. And I probably, from that standpoint, put the first ones in North America that were not Zahn at that time in the mouth. and really got to see, the history through all the development. And, I've had workflows that have progressed and advanced, and materials have progressed and advanced to kind of where we're at today, which is really exciting. And I can do, you could do it two ways. Zirconia is still king, hands down. But now, you're looking at, let's say, and I don't know, if I had a guess, there's still a portion of clinicians that are uncomfortable with double jaw zirc. And that's I could spend an hour on that topic
Yeah.
in itself, and all the reasons and all the myths. I could dispel all the myths and the this and the that and the heavy and all of that. Anyways, so for those clinicians, when they're presented with a double jaw case, there's still an acrylic option. They want a different material on the mandible. That itself has progressed from where it was a very analog process, a bar wrapped acrylic, to now a very modern digital approach, which I do, which is, kind of, it's going to be a printed solution. So you could do a cobalt chrome bar, you can mill it, or you could print it. And then you can do Lucitone or Flexera base with Flexera teeth that stacks on top of the bar. That's my fully digital, let's say, modernized, modular bar wrapped acrylic. So those are my two options when it comes to all on X. But zirconia is still weighs supreme. It's going to be interesting moving forward to see how that changes with advancements in new materials like Flexera. Did an interview. I lectured at the AO, the Academy of Osteointegration Integration, earlier this year. And then after that lecture, I was on the Dental Guys podcast, which is like my third time on the Dental Guys. It's really, they're awesome. And they do a great job. And they posed the question, because earlier that day, there was a Dr. Will Martin did a lecture, and, he called it Dr. Will Martin's KOLs, which all these people that are, his friends or peers in relationships in the industry that he works with, and asked them, a series of questions. And my answer for all of his questions was printing. And the Dental Guys posed this question to me because I was the only one that said that. So, in the interesting, it's just something to chew on later. Are we currently over engineering cases? So if you look at a material like Flexera, you utilize that as a final restoration. And then the question comes up, well, what happens when it breaks? Will it be, or some type of version of a material like that, acceptable just to reprint the file? Because it's as easy as that. So there's definitely,
did you reprint?
Yeah, there's gonna be an evolution there of where it's going. So it's kind of exciting, but for right now, zirconia is still top of the hill.
I mean, even I'll just give you a little background. I mean, someone that I know, their mom was in a nursing home, and somehow her lower denture got misplaced and it was gone.
Right.
And it took forever. I mean, you feel so bad. It's an elderly woman. She can't eat or whatever, can't leave the nursing home with dementia and everything like that. So what do? You have to rely on somebody to actually go there. And it took forever to get somebody there, where a solution like, oh, okay, we have the file, let's reprint it and we can get it to her the next day, would just make so much sense, like in a situation like that. Maybe not every situation, but in that kind of situation, it would have been perfect.
Yeah, it's
that wasn't the case.
Fascinating to me, because this is a good segue to dentures. One of our biggest areas of growth is digital dentures. So as last we heard, we're the second largest producer of digital dentures in the United States. That's actually not good. So and the reason why it's not good, or reason why we're number two, is, believe it or not, and from my experience, the adoption has been so incredibly slow on the removable side of the house, which just blows my mind. When it comes to printing, you can early pioneer me on all of these things. And then when it came to printing, it's just standstill. I didn't really dive into it because you couldn't do with anything with it but print models. And I print models because I have to. It's like breathing air, right? But it didn't excite me. It wasn't, I can't, it's not a restorative material. Until when Lucitone first came out, and Conrad and I seen that and immediately jumped right on it. It's fascinating to me because I know laboratories that early on got involved with the system and just don't utilize it. Digital dentures have been one of our number one areas for growth. I mean, massive growth. I can't stress that enough to everybody out there listening, for one of the reasons you mentioned. So one of the things, advancements in dentistry that we have that I bring up all the time, but maybe goes overlooked, is the ability to archive data.
Yeah.
It's so valuable. It's so valuable. And there's no other better place than in removable. So you can do 1,000 things with that archive data. We have 24-hour lost or broken replacement guarantee. So you call us up, you don't even have to see the patient. Previously, and I'm not a removables technician, I tell everybody right out of the bat, it is an art without a doubt unto itself. And it's a skill I don't possess. But I talk about it all the time because I'm talking about it from the material standpoint. That's really my draw, and the technology. So if you look at it previously, if you had a situation like that, especially in an elderly patient, you're looking at start over. You're basically starting over from scratch with all of the analog and physical record gathering, going through all of that process and bite rims and wax tooth setups again. You have to, reestablish the vertical and the aesthetic zone, and holy cow, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Now all you got to do is, if I'm Joe clinician or Sally clinician, I call the laboratory, my patient lost their denture, no problem. And we'll put it in the next print cycle. It comes out and we'll finish it and overnight ship it to you. You have it in your hand the next day.
You just find that STL file and
yeah.
And print.
It's insane. Or clinicians that have their own printers. Here, let me email you the files. So I mean, and there's a collaboration now like we've never seen before. And it's fantastic. And a lot of this stems from the removable side of the house. If you look at, let's fast forward 5 years from now. I tell clinicians all the time, if I was a clinician, I'm not, but if I was, I'd be awesome. Because the first thing I would do is, if I had, as my new patient protocol, if I had an existing denture wearer, or maybe it's a current patient, I would scan that denture and I would archive that denture. Same thing. If they lose it, I could reprint it. If 5 years from now they come back and they say, the denture's worn, maybe they've broken some teeth, what have you, it needs to be replaced, you can go ahead and just, bring that archive data back up, print it back out as a try-in, do a wash reline, and then go right the final from there. If you have even duplicates, all we got to do is hit the button again for patients. I seen this during COVID. I had a lot of cases come in from the University of Florida, Dr. Luis Gonzaga, and from MUSC with Dr. Mark Ludlow, during shutdowns of elderly patients who wanted, there's nothing wrong with their denture. They just wanted an extra one because they were terrified with everything that was going on. If something happened to it, they would have to go without.
Right.
So what they did was scan the denture and we created an exact duplicate. This is amazing. And what's fascinating to me, and some I know some laboratory owners that I respect, and hold in high regard, that still have not dove into digital dentures. I did the lecture in Technorama this year. There's a lot of denturists. They seem like they're ready and fired up. But it's just interesting because there's other than the material, the workflow and some of the benefits of going digital and removable are massive.
Time saving, with so much time and as far as the resins, you had mentioned that your Flexera is the one that you're using, right? The desktop help. So do you have an Envision One or do you have an Einstein in the office?
Yeah, so we have Envision One and we have an Einstein. Actually,
Okay.
we have two Envision Ones and we have an Einstein.
Mhm.
And I use both. I use the Flexera and I still have the carbons. I like, if you look at, because in all honesty, somebody just asked me not too long ago in a webinar, do I still use the carbons? I'm like, well, yeah, I have to. I'm still paying for them.
There you go.
Um, but yeah, I have my Einstein and I love it. I love the Flexera material. If you look at the raw data on Flexera, look at the strength numbers. It's astronomical. It's
I was just going to
astronomical.
ask you about the properties.
Yeah.
What was, what was superior about the resin that you're using that you would want to share with?
Yeah. So it's about 34 to 3,500 joules work of fracture strength. So it's through the roof. If you look at conventionally processed acrylic, it's at about 900 for a high impact acrylic. So if you look at those numbers, the strength that it's yielding, it's massive. And of course, you've seen all the old videos. We did the same thing. We drove them over with a truck.
Yeah.
The printed denture obviously doesn't break. And to date, I mean, we're estimating that we're probably well north of 6,000 digital dentures, and we've had two that have come back that actually broke to date. So in one of them, we knew it was going to break. The doctor, we had suspicion, so we'll do them with locators, no frameworks, no meshes, nothing like that. But in this particular instance, the locator was right there. I mean, it was, you want at least 2 millimeters above it. So my removable team tells me, and we weren't. So we were, far at minimum thickness, and we went ahead and did it. It was like, okay, let's do it. And that one actually broke, so we got it back. We thickened it up over that locator housing, and we've never seen it again. I mean, locator cases unsupported. It's incredible.
And you feel like you like the aesthetics? The aesthetics are pleasing?
Oh yeah, it's beautiful.
They like in patients as well. We've gotten good
Yeah.
responses.
So you can do, and this is where we kind of, open it up. So our preference or what we would recommend is doing the Flexera teeth, printed teeth. So Flexera printed teeth, Flexera base. It's great. But what happens if you have a doctor that likes blue line teeth, carded teeth, or Finaris carded teeth, or whatever they want, you can put in that base. So it gives you a massive range. The majority of what we do is going to be Flexera printed teeth. So their printed tooth solution is beautiful. It's strong. It's aesthetic. I use that for my modular digital, acrylic hybrid. That's the solution that I use. But, the sky is the limit. And it is. Again, I can't stress the importance enough of really on the removable side of a house to adopt it. The adoption rate has been so low, and I don't understand why. If you look at removables, and Crown and Bridge is plagued by the same thing. We're all looking for people. There are no people, so you have to create them or train them. I talked to one lab owner again that I respect a lot, and he said, "Well, you know how it is. I got my setup guy, and he's older, and nobody really wants to learn it, and this and that." So then adopted it. Here's the thing. And setup guys are working way past their retirement age right now. If you look at a lot of them, they're not going to be there forever. So then what are you going to do? In that instance, what I would do is I would start getting the designers to design the dentures, and I would have my expert, my setup guy that has 40 years of experience that's so valuable to actually look over those designs. He could be he doesn't have to learn. You don't have to teach him the software, but make him a point of QC where he sees the designs, and he can aid the designers and kind of teach those designers how to, his skills and pass it down that way. It's important, because otherwise we're going to see there'll be a quite a big void in well, there's quite a big void in dental technology altogether.
Yeah,
But in the next coming years, and the digital just makes so much sense to get into it right now, especially on the removable side of the house.
that and learning characterization as well.
Yep.
You know, that's a big part of with printing, I feel is so important, and that's something that takes time to learn and skill as well.
Yep. Absolutely.
With people coming out, I mean, that's something that, you know, takes a little bit of time to catch up, like you said, to those master technicians that have been out there doing it for you know, they're definitely a very, very important part of the whole profession.
Right.
And like you said, they're not going to be here forever. So it's like we want them to be able to pass down their skill and their expertise to the, you know, other newer people coming in. So I hope
Absolutely.
that happens in more cases, definitely in the future. How about implant
Mhm.
retained prosthesis? How is that workflow? How are you doing those?
Which one do you want? There's
So,
there it's
so
it
are you doing like a 3D printed prosthesis that's implant retained? Or are you milling bases as far as that goes and printing,
yeah, so
doing a
I'll
whole mix up?
if we look at all on X workflows, I just gave this lecture a couple weeks ago. You know, you got right now you got analog, you got a little bit of digital, you got a lot digital,
Mhm,
and it goes on and on from there. Then you get into photogrammetry, which I haven't done too much of to date,
mhm,
but my brother actually has. He's done a lot of it. Big success stories coming out of there. If we're looking at, so if I'm doing an all on X restoration, I'm doing prototypes and I'm doing provisionals.
mhm.
Both of those are printed. So for my prototypes, I'll go ahead and print those out of Flexera Smile. And the reason why is because I can't tell you how many times where the clinician says they just wanted to wear it so bad for one night home or over the weekend. Well, if you print it out of an inferior material, by Monday, it's broken. Or because I've had them, I let them take it home and I'm like, no, don't do that. Because by the time they got home, they already broke it.
Yeah,
Like it's only for verifying records. It's only for, looking at midline and size of ledge position, gingival architecture, and so on and so forth.
yeah.
But now I print them out of Flexera. So if they do want to let them out of the chair with it for a day, for 2 days, for a week, I'm not even worried about it. The same thing goes for our surgical conversions. Those are all printed. And the same thing goes for my provisionals. So up until recently, previously, I would mill all the provisionals. Then I got rid of, because I don't want to mill. I still mill because I have to mill. So
Mhm.
as soon as I got a solution that I could start printing in, and I had some early on versions that I wasn't really happy with. The Flexar has been really good to me. I would print them and then I would add pink afterwards.
Okay.
Now I don't do that. Now I'll actually go ahead and design them in the Crown and Bridge software, export it back out, re-import it back into the denture software, split the teeth from the base, and then I'll print the base and I'll print the teeth and I'll stick the two together and I'll cement the tie bases and away it goes. So I don't even hand apply gingiva to my all on X provisionals
Yeah.
anymore. So it's all printed.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
And what about components? What components, implant components are you using in your lab?
So depending on the clinician, but for the most part, primarily it will always be DES.
Okay.
Everything across the board is DES, unless I have a clinician that specifically states I want OEM, and that's fine.
Mhm.
That's fine. I have no problem with that. But for our laboratory standard, if it's an all on X case, that's what it's getting. What's really nice about it is, it's funny. I worked in prosthodontics for so long that I never ran across this problem until I got here to Absolute,
Mhm.
which was everybody I worked with had every driver set.
Okay.
So I can put in, DES with standard Nobel screw, and it could be, Dr. Prosthodontist, Bob, and he has all of those drivers. So it wasn't specific. Now I ran into an issue to where I don't have the Nobel driver, I have this driver. What's nice that Des has done is they've taken, so if you look at a standard, industry standard Nobel multi-unit abutment, okay, and although they will tell you it's not, I will tell you it is.
Mhm.
Straumann SRA, BioHorizon, Astra Smart Fix, and Nobel, you can fit across all those platforms.
Okay.
But the screw and the driver is different.
Mhm.
Okay. What they do is if I have a clinician that's, not opposed to, off-label manufactured components, and say it's a Straumann case, I can get that multi-unit tie base from Des and then get the proper screw that goes with a Straumann driver to put the two together. So I don't run into the issue of, I don't have this driver because I matched the driver actually with the implant system. I matched the screw with the implant system. But the multi-unit abutment tie base itself doesn't change. So I order the screws that go with that system.
So there is an interchangeability with the desk system then. So
Yep.
there's, okay. So that makes it very attractive as well.
Yeah.
And you said the drivers, you can mix and match as well.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so it works out really good. And they have angulated screw access for multi-unit abutments. So if that 30 degrees wasn't enough, because who knows why that implant is hanging out that far, then you could go ahead and, use the angulated system on the multi-unit abutments to bring you back just that, maybe it's just that tick behind the incisal edge. So that works out really well.
Yeah, definitely. It makes it a little bit easier to deal with, What kind of tips and tricks with desks can you give the attendees? If they were just basically saying, well, you know what, maybe I'll give it a try. Like, what do you think that they should go for first? What should they order first? What should they look into getting into their lives?
So it all works. It all works. I like them. I like the design of the multi-unit abutment tie base. I don't want specific geometry or anything like that on there on purpose. That goes way back to when we started the protocols for designing these in 3Shape. Des scan bodies pretty much work across the board. Once you start getting into the hybrid all NX scanning, which is a whole nother beast and ridiculous animal, we frequently will recommend those because they're kind of universal. So that works really well. But other than that, I could tell you they're great. I've been using them for years. Everybody uses them as far as I know. They have name recognition with clinicians. All technicians know about them. I don't, other than it's easy, it's simple. They're always there, kind of sort of thing.
Yeah. Now, as far as how about affordability? Are they more affordable? Like, that's something that would give somebody a good reason to start, maybe switch over and give it a try.
Incredibly economical.
Okay.
Incredibly economical. Like I said, unless you have a clinician that is really, hey, I want OEM, then everything I use is Des. So
that's great. That's great. So the point is for just getting started is to just go ahead and go for it. And
yeah,
is there like, did you start out with like maybe a starter kit, or did you just go for what you used to using more often and start out slowly like that?
Yeah, I just ordered the parts, and I got into Des a while back. They just exist, so they're just out there, and that's what I got, went online and picked out the part numbers I needed and just ordered them. So,
and you found like with other implant systems that they were interchangeable, so that was a good thing.
Oh yeah, they'd have to be. It's important. One of the things you want to watch for, and they do, is make sure that they have their 510Ks all in line.
Okay.
and they do. All their parts are, there's nothing, their parts are great. Their parts are just as good as I mean, I'm not, implant part manufacturers probably freak out, but it's a funny question for me because it's a part. I don't hold much value in it.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
does its job. I cement it in and that's
right.
it. It's kind of like one of those things where it's like, it's there. It's like electricity.
Mhm.
It's great. It's always there.
Like you can count on it. It's affordable. It's
Yep.
interchangeable, right? So it's got those three characteristics that are good, and that's awesome. That's
And
good.
just works. I mean, as far as I know, I mean, at least my team has never told me anything otherwise, but the company's easy to work with.
Yeah.
I mean, we order a ton of parts, a
Mhm.
ton of parts. And we don't, I mean, there's some, scare tactics out there. I can tell you from personal experience, um, if you use a desk part, the patient will not die. So,
Yeah.
there's all this craziness of, oh, if you use something that is not, this part, then no, it's not. It's just a tie base, and that's all there is to it. And
And
they're
it
simple,
works.
they're affordable, they're easy to use. Yep.
What are your plans in the next year as far as like where you see Absolute going? Are you have any type of plans for like new purchases or any type of new innovations in the lab that you're thinking about?
Yep. So we're always innovating. We're always trying to, I do a ton of beta testing. I do a ton of KOLing. So always looking at the materials, looking at new workflows. Again, like the all on X digital workflows is really big right now.
Mhm.
Um, Working on, we do a lot with, so let's go to equipment. One of the things that we're working on, trying to figure out is our printing room. So if you walk into our printing room, we have every single printer known to man. Um, and that's because, as they come out and this printer comes out with this bell and whistle and this printer comes out with that bell and whistle, and you just buy them and you buy them and you buy them and you buy them. And kind of the problem with that is that now I have 15 platforms that all have 15 different interfaces. And as we're hiring, and when we're hiring, we're not hiring for necessarily, let's say, a dental technician. We're hiring for 3D printing person, right? Because
Right.
we're trying to attract that younger generation. And so a lot of these young men and women have a great deal of 3D printing experience. Even my daughters had 3D printing as an elective in junior high. So yeah, it's pretty incredible. So they come with a great deal of experience, even if they were in 3D printing manufacturing in another industry.
Mhm.
But now we bring them on board, and oh, by the way, let's learn these 15 different platforms. So one of the things, we're looking at, we really like, and again, I'm into the materials. So we have all the printers. I like the Einstein. I like the Envision one. I like the printers. They're fantastic. They're great. But more important to me is the materials. So I really put a lot of value in what materials I think that company is going to continue to develop, because a lot of the printing companies are not a materials company. Okay, so there's a lot of kind of incestuous private labeling going on amongst them. So you got two materials that are actually the same materials that were manufactured by the same company that private labeled them. Uh,
Yeah.
where Desktop is a materials company that also has a great printing platform. So I'm watching that carefully because, at least from what I've seen, from my standpoint, that it looks like they're going to be working a lot on the continuous development of more dental materials, which is really exciting for me. So I like that. And if
Yeah.
I can get a room full of all just one platform, that would be fantastic. Just from a training perspective, just for an onboarding, it makes life that much easier. So that's one of the things we're working on, taking a look at, of course, always developing what new materials are out there. How can we utilize these new materials? Um, a lot going on with digital all on X and AI technology. So
Yeah.
uh, I'm a massive user of AI. If and I'd have to check with the 3Shape Automate guys, but last time I heard, we were the biggest user of AI night guards in the entire world. Not
Wow.
US, North America, and the entire world. Again, adoption, from what I can see, not where I feel it should be. There should not be a laboratory in this country that does not do an AI night guard. I mean, just period. It's I wouldn't even understand why you wouldn't. It's amazing technology. It's helps you scale. The night guards are absolutely perfect. You could have them designed any way you want to have them designed. I just don't. That fascinates me. It really, really does. And so, for example, if I was to start a laboratory today,
Mhm.
I would not start a Crown Bridge laboratory. Think of a molar and all of the things that can go wrong with that molar: margins, fit, contacts, occlusion, shade, picky doctor, picky patient. I mean, this thing is a disaster. And oh, by the way, everybody's fighting on price. No, I would open up a night guard laboratory, and it would only be digital scans, and I would send them to AI, and then I would print them out, finish them up, and send them out for delivery.
Yeah.
Because we get as much for our crowns are more, but we probably get more for a digital night guard than a lot of labs get for a regular say zirconia molar.
Wow.
So, and it's fascinating to me. Everybody should absolutely be using AI technology, and it's going to grow. I really believe that. So
Here, but it's just going to keep evolving and be the future for sure.
yep.
Every day, new innovation is coming through, and it's exciting. Definitely not boring, Jack. Right?
No, not at all.
Definitely not boring.
I say AI so many times, and everybody kind of gives me a second look, and then I kind of explain it to them, especially clinicians, and they're just fascinated by it. And I'm like, yeah, the AI designs. There's not a person; it's in the cloud, and it designs the night guards and sends them back to me. So it's pretty awesome.
That's great. Well, I appreciate you being here so much. I'm going to open things up to questions now. So if we have
Okay.
any questions, please type them in and let us know. And Jack will definitely answer for you. Katie will be monitoring those. But our desk education continues this month. Next Wednesday on June 8th from 2 to 3 p.m., we have Dr. Stephen Bristman joining us. He is a prosthodontist here in New York, and he will be speaking about his experience on placing desk implant abutments. And then Jack will be back with us on Wednesday, June 22nd from 2 to 3 as well, with our tech to tech education. And you'll be speaking to us about case studies of your desk implant abutment and prosthesis. So I'm really excited about that. And I know you love Flexera and the desktop printers. So Zahn and Desktop Health are collaborating together this month. June 21st and 22nd, we'll be having our first Mix and Mingle with a Genius. The first one's going to be over in Seattle, Washington on June 21st. And on June 22nd, we'll be heading over to Kansas City. So we're very, very excited about that.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, it's like our version of Pinot and Print. I don't know if you've seen any of that, but ours is called Mix and Mingle with a Genius. So I'm so excited. So it'll be fun, something good. And Desktop Health and Zahn are very excited to be doing this. Yep. I do have one question that came in, and this attendee wants to know again, how would you feel? How would you get started with desk implants? Like, what would you consider to be the absolute must-haves to start out?
Yeah, so I mean, I wouldn't. It's weird. I don't look at it as something that like say porcelain. If I was buying a porcelain kit, I would just start ordering and get on board with them. So whatever implant cases you have, let's say you do a lot of Nobel, or you know what? Let's go here. Let's go low hanging fruit. Analogs. Do not buy OEM analogs. There's no reason to. it doesn't make any sense. So here, if you want to get your foot in the door using a desk product, go in and now start ordering and stocking all of your implant analogs as desk analogs. Just probably saved you $20 a part.
Now that is over time, and you think about $20 a part.
Yep.
That goes on what you could actually do with that.
Yeah, yeah. So we talk about tie bases, and you can talk about screws and angulated screw access and all of this stuff. It all works great. Just order it. You have a case and it's this part, then find the corresponding part in the desk catalog and order that part. You'll be very happy. But analogs, there's like low-hanging fruit. If I'm looking to implement something in a laboratory, I always go for the low-hanging fruit, not because it's easy, but it instills an immediate success. And then I kind of build on top of that. So start right off right now, tomorrow, all of our analogs come from desks across all of the implant platforms, and you'll be very, very happy. Buy me a beer when you see me.
Well, if anybody out there wants to get started, please don't hesitate. Call your, Zahn representative. They'd be more than happy to get some desk analogs into your laboratory as soon as possible. I just want to thank you so much for joining me today in a look in the lab. That made me so happy that you wanted to spend some time with me. And
yeah, thank you for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. I just want to know if there's any kind of words of encouragement that you can share with our attendees today.
Yeah, so when it comes to the materials, when it comes to the technology, of course, everybody stay really abreast of it. Get into things like AI, get out of your comfort zone, print a digital denture, things like that. Do night guards. Even if that could be a laboratory that doesn't even offer night guards. One of the things we offer them with all of our hybrid cases. It's an easy win. And just always just keep driving and working hard. Stay humble, stay loyal, stay honest, and that's about it. If you go by that, then you'll be pretty set.